Alright, so that guy, I just watched something that really did not fall, you know, well, did not fall to my taste or my liking, or however you go, however you say that. This guy, there's this comedian from South Africa called Trevor Noah, and he was like, this is what really bothers me, like talking about this crisis in Ukraine, and then he was like talking about. I mean, people should really not do this. But I know this type of people that he's, like very cocky and they think they are entitled to say anything about anything. And they must be, in the forefront of this movement that is always like challenging what's being told in the news. And I get all that, but come on, man, you must understand this is not something that you should really, you know, uh, let's say, well, I wouldn't say joke with, but it's almost like as if he did kind of make a joke actually. And basically, what it's about is that he is trying to say that these Western media care more about this conflict than the ones in Syria, and such stuff. I mean, the Middle East in general, and that's because it's a racist motive, because this is in Europe, and that somehow makes them more interested. And actually, what the basis of it all was that some of these reporters said were that they are so shocked that this could happen in Europe. And it's basically I think I said something like that in my previous video about this topic. But come on, people, let's face it, alright? People are just unable to face the facts because they are too deeply involved, alright? When you come from a certain area, alright, you come from another continent, and then you cannot really cope when somebody, gives you the facts that your continent is not like this one, the other one. Not gonna mention them by name, but anyway, the simple truth is that Europe is more developed than the Middle East. Alright, alright, let's just use the Middle East, alright. Not gonna mention the entire Asia because that wouldn't be really correct. You got like China and Japan and South Korea who can easily compare now anyway to Europe in that way. But this part of Asia, the western part, has always been in turmoil, right? There's always been wars there. I mean, almost always. So to say something like that isn't really, any kind of racism or bias or whatever. It's just simple facts. But people do still get, offended. And why? I don't really know. Why? Well, I do know. Because today we have such a society that everything is about, being totally like 100% politically correct, and everything is about being looking everything as equally. at everyone and everything is equally as possible, right? And that's all right. I think that's positive. But in this way, we cannot look at at everything as it's always been the same, like all these parts of the world, because they are not simple truth. And what he also said was that this guy Trevor Noah, he said that war has been always a European thing. Well, 100 years war and stuff like that. He mentioned that, but that was back when everybody was like, "Come on, there was war everywhere." It was so common to make war back then in those days, right? So you don't mention that, like in the whole Middle Eastern world, there was always somebody fighting also entire time. So I mean, to put it that way, to say that it's a typical European thing, that I would call actually somewhat racist because, yeah, sure, the European powers they did used to fight a lot, yeah, sure, sure, nobody's denying that, but that happened a long time ago, right? Yeah, but if we look at after World War II, has there been any wars until the very end of the 20th century in Europe? No, no, of course not. So, have there been any wars in the Middle East? Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. A lot of it, actually. So, that's my point, you really cannot compare those two, and you cannot expect these people to say, oh, yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised because this is Ukraine and it used to be, like 1,000 years ago, very sensitive area, or 500 years ago, whatever, there was a lot of war back then, and now, so it's natural it's war here again because it isn't simply. So there isn't much more to say really about this. I think people should just leave this alone. All right, this is not a good thing to you know keep on mentioning, keep on going on how these Europe doesn't care about us because we are not white, we are not this and that. They only care about when it's war in Europe, and then that's their you know. It's not true, right? I mean, all this time, there was a lot of focus on war in Syria in the news everywhere. You could find, even now, you can find tons of news everywhere about it, right? So it's not true that this war has gotten a lot more attention than the Syrian one. But since that Syrian war has lasted so long now, yeah, people are getting tired, a little bit tired about hearing about it. Well, this has just began now, right? So that's how it goes. When it comes to the refugees, this guy also had a problem with, that the fact that the Syrian refugees were not welcome in all countries. Well, they were accepted in certain countries, like I will tell you, but this guy doesn't know that because, he lives in South Africa, so he's just, talking shit without knowing all the facts. So like Serbia, they actually accepted a lot of refugees from Syria. Actually, that's what I'm gonna tell you, Mister Wise Guy. Yeah, and also Bosnia also accepted a few. Also, in fact, and rather recently, I'll tell you, like 3 years ago or something. So, but yeah, I agree that some of these countries, like in the EU, especially wealthier ones, could have well accepted more refugees. Yeah, sure. from Syria, but that's just the way it is. But one should not be really too down on them because I don't think for one I don't think it's fair that that they all went towards Europe because why Europe? Like this is not in Europe for one thing. Syria is not in Europe, so logically, the first places they should go to see refugees, around them, the countries bordering them, or in the same part of the world, right? So that's what is happening right now. They are not guys like this Noah fool is not actually considering, well, maybe they are so keen to accept these refugees because they come from the same area, same part of Europe as them. Their culture is not so different, right? So there is a lot of that, when of course when you hear that people are coming from the Middle East, they are, you start to feel a little bit skeptical and afraid even. Like what are they like? Are they gonna try to rob us? And you know, it's just I'm not saying that's fair, but that's how it is. It's natural, right? So, Hungary has now accepted many refugees from Ukraine. That's good, right? I did not like what they did actually to Syrian refugees back then in 2015, but that's on them. I mean, it's not that like entire Europe or entire Eastern Europe acted like that. Greece and Hungary are the worst examples. I think even Bulgaria and Romania accepted a few. Yeah. So I don't like this guy. He's just too smug. He's too quick to pull out the race car, and mention. The last thing he mentioned was like how there's white people think, oh, it's all right. The colored people are used to run. They are good at running, so they should not be, really helped when something like this happens. That's just absurd. Yeah, this just people should learn, to not mess with things such as war, and it's like not play that forgotten middle child. Oh, they don't care about me. No, they care more about that one, because he's in trouble now, and I was in trouble like for a long time. That's how it works, I mean, there is no fairness in this world, actually. But I mean, you should remember that this country is at war now, and it's really going through a lot of difficult, terrible stuff. So it's almost, to me, it sounds like you're saying, "Oh, forget about it. Fuck them. They are white. They are European. They will manage. We need more help. We need more attention." So not good.